subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. It's quick and easy, and it helps us create more content for you. My husband found out I was cheating when he saw me step out of a car at 3 in the morning, sawn underwear. I know, it sounds like a scene from a B movie, but it was raw, unscripted reality. My reality. That moment shattered everything. We were returning from a private party. Me, Ricardo, and the other one. It had been a long night of drinks, soft music, lingering glances, and that tension that builds for weeks before it finally breaks. I stumbled out of the car, still buzzing and laughing at nothing, when I spotted him. Marcelo, standing in the doorway, his face ashen, like he'd just witnessed a wreck on Paulista Avenue. No words, just his eyes locked on my legs, my rumpled dress, the back seat where he knew exactly what had unfolded. And I felt the emptiness, not just between my thighs, but between us. The silence was so profound that even the car's engine seemed to hush, unwilling to bear witness any longer. If you're wondering how I got here, from a settled married woman and mother to a midnight infidel, keep reading. There are no excuses, only reasons. And sometimes reasons cut deeper than apologies. When Marcelo saw me that night, he didn't react as I'd expected. No shouts, no confrontation, no curses. He just stared, lips pressed tight, arms folded, then turned and climbed the stairs without a word, not even waiting to see if I'd follow. He didn't need confirmation. It was already written. By the time I reached our apartment, the door was ajar. The hallway was silent, lights blazing. I slipped in slowly, bracing for drama, but all I heard was my own uneven breathing. I headed straight to the bathroom, shut the door, and faced the mirror. I knew that night had changed us forever. I splashed my face with cold water and drew a deep breath. I didn't regret it then, at least not fully. What unnerved me most was Marcelo's eerie calm, the exhaustion in his eyes that spoke of wounds beyond repair. The next morning, I rose before him, made coffee out of habit, but didn't bring him a cup. I sat in the kitchen, staring out the window, mug in hand. I heard him stir, shower, dress, all in silence. When he finally appeared, he looked at me like a stranger. I poured his coffee wordlessly as he sat across from me. Who is he? That was his first question. No whys, no how longs, just the name of the enemy. Ricardo, I replied. No point in lying now. He nodded once, eyes fixed on his cup. How long? A few weeks, I lied. It had been nearly 3 months. If he was going to hate me, let it be for less. Did you sleep with him? The question hit like a blade. I could have downplayed it, claimed it was just emotional, but I'd crossed that line. Yes. He said nothing, rose, and locked himself in the bathroom for over an hour. I stayed rooted in my chair, trying not to dwell on what I'd done, what came next, or if our daughter Bia would sense the fracture. When he emerged, his eyes were red, not from tears. Marcelo doesn't cry, but from a contained fury that chilled more than any outburst. Did you bring him here? No, I answered truthfully. Ricardo had never set foot in our home. Does Bia know him? No. Do you plan to keep seeing him? I didn't know how to respond without wounding him further. I don't know. He looked at me with a blend of disappointment and contempt that pinned me to my seat. Then he grabbed a backpack, stuffed it with clothes, and left without a word. No threats, no slammed doors, just gone. That was the true revelation. He wasn't just hurt. He was done fighting for me. No pleas, no scenes, just a brutal end. It hurt more than if he'd screamed or thrown me out. I spent the day like a ghost, not working, not calling anyone. When Bia came home from school, I put on my best face and made her snack as usual. She noticed something was off, I could tell, but didn't ask. That night, she hugged me tighter before bed, as if she felt the shift. I swallowed my tears. Crying wouldn't undo anything. Marcelo didn't return the next day. No messages, no calls. He showed up that evening just to collect more clothes. I was in the kitchen. He walked in, avoided my eyes, went to the closet, packed a bag, and headed for the door. Before leaving, he paused. "Don't bother calling me. We'll only talk about Bia." And he was gone. It wasn't until the fourth day that he decided to talk. He'd been staying at his brother's. I learned that from Bia, not him. He returned that evening, around 7:30, as I was finishing dinner for her. He entered with a resolute step, face like stone, and asked to speak in the living room. Bia was absorbed in cartoons on her tablet, so I followed him quietly. He sat on the couch, still in his jacket, arms crossed, regarding me like an intruder. "I need to understand what the hell happened to you," he began, his voice steady, but laced with tension that seeped into my skin. I sat opposite, gripping my hands to stop the tremble. "I don't know what to say," I whispered. "Don't give me that, Carla. You know damn well. I want to hear it from you." "Why? What was missing? What did he do that I didn't? What pushed you to wreck everything?" I swallowed hard. I'd rehearsed answers in my head, but none felt adequate. It wasn't planned. It started as harmless messages, that's all. "How do you go from messages to screwing in a car?" he cut in, his eyes blazing with restrained anger. It wasn't that simple. It built up. I felt like I needed something more, something we didn't have anymore. I can't explain it. Try. Because I needed things too. And I didn't go chasing affairs. Do you know what it's like to have a bad day at work and come home to no one who really sees you? You think that's just my problem? His voice wavered, not from emotion, but exhaustion. "I'm not saying it's your fault," I tried, but he waved me off. "Of course not, because this is all on you. No one forced you. It's not a couple's mistake, it's your choice. You decided our life wasn't worth respecting. That's what kills me. You knew it'd destroy me, and you did it anyway." I fell silent, throat tight, feeling I had no right to defend myself. He dropped his gaze, rubbed his forehead, and sighed. "I don't know how to go on with this. It hurts to even look at you. I don't want Bia seeing us as enemies, but I can't pretend either. I don't want this to destroy everything," I said, though I barely believed it. "Too late, you already have." His voice cracked slightly, and I saw him blink rapidly. "I didn't mean to hurt you. It wasn't planned." "Well done, Carla. You didn't plan it, but you succeeded anyway." He stood, walked to the doorway, hand on the frame, back to me. "I'm not sure I want to fix this. I won't decide now because I don't know myself. For now, keep this between us. Bia doesn't need to know." "Not yet. I'll handle the school drop-offs. And when I come by, we'll act normal around her. Understood?" "Yes. And stay away from him. No messages, no calls, no contact. If I find out otherwise, you'll be alone, and I'll fight for full custody. I have plenty of evidence to make that stick." What about me? I thought, but it wasn't the time to argue. I just nodded, and silence enveloped us for the rest of the night. Marcelo wasn't one for dramatics, but he wasn't naive either. When he told me to cut ties with Ricardo, he meant it. For the next 2 weeks, he played the role of the dutiful father, polite, composed, but he was no longer the man I'd married. Every move was calculated. In front of Bia, he maintained normalcy, but alone, his silence was a blade, each unspoken word a warning. I didn't push for more talks. I knew anything I said would only deepen the chasm. What I didn't expect was his next move. It was smarter than any fight. One morning, while I was still in bed, he took Bia to school as promised. It was a Friday. He returned mid-morning, sat at the computer for nearly an hour, printed something, and left without a glance. I felt a undercurrent, but couldn't pinpoint it. That afternoon, he locked himself in his office until dinner. Over the weekend, he was glued to his phone, typing endlessly, not bothering to hide it. On Monday, he made his intentions clear. "I'm taking Bia this week," he said over breakfast, his tone flat, as if predicting rain. Bia was distracted with her tablet. "Why?" I asked. "Because I want to. We won't discuss it in front of her." I let it slide, sensing the beginnings of his strategy. It wasn't temporary. 2 days later, an email arrived from an unknown address. The subject, Ricardo. I opened it without thinking. It was a shared folder of screenshots, our messages, photos of our meetings, even a grainy video of us kissing on a bar veranda. The note read, "If you continue seeing him, all this goes to his workplace, Bia's school, and more." I froze. Marcelo hadn't just gathered evidence. He'd meticulously built a web, cruel and effective. No need for shouts. This was enough to upend my world. I called him immediately. He answered on the second ring. "What the hell is this?" "Exactly what it looks like," he replied calmly. "And if you contact him again, his family, his bosses, his girlfriend, if he has one, and even the school WhatsApp group will know. Your call." "Are you sick?" "No, Carla. I'm furious and methodical. Did you think I'd just take it lying down? You were wrong." He hung up. I sank to the kitchen floor, numb. Marcelo wasn't fighting for me. He was ensuring I couldn't escape the consequences. No physical revenge, no public spectacle, just precise, unyielding pressure. He just wanted me to feel exactly what he had felt: helpless, humiliated, afraid. And he was succeeding. The way he did it, in silence, with such surgical precision, that was the worst part. That night, when he returned with Bia, he acted as if nothing had happened. He asked about her day, helped with her homework, read her a story. I remained silent, unsure how to move, unsure if I was free or caught in a net from which there was no escape. The next day, before leaving for work, he left a printed sheet of paper on the table. It was a list. At the top, it read, "Conditions for continuing to live under the same roof." I read each point with my heart in my throat. No dates, no social media, no new phone passwords. Permission for him to review my email. And, the worst of it, zero contact with Ricardo. Not in person, not electronically. Any breach, and the folder would be sent without warning. I don't know if it was revenge or simply a way to have control, but it worked. I never wrote to Ricardo again. I blocked him everywhere. I deleted everything, not because I wanted to, but because I was terrified. Marcelo had turned me into a prisoner of my own actions. And the worst part was knowing that while I silently begged for forgiveness every night, he had already started to live a different life. I had given back everything he had once given me, but not in the way he expected. And now he was the one who decided how much it would cost me to stay. There was no specific date for our last conversation, just a moment when the silence ceased to be useful. 3 weeks had passed since Marcelo imposed his conditions. I had followed every one of them, not out of conviction, but because I knew any misstep would be a weapon turned directly against me. I moved carefully through the house, avoided his eyes, offered no opinions on anything that wasn't strictly necessary. I became almost invisible, so as not to provoke a reaction. He didn't say much, but he watched everything. That night, however, was different. Bia was sleeping over at her cousin's house, and for the first time in a long time, we were alone, with no excuses to hide behind. I had dinner before him, cleaned everything, and locked myself in the bedroom. 10 minutes later, I heard the door open. He came in, walked to the closet, took off his jacket, and sat on the edge of the bed. He spoke without looking at me. "I'm requesting a transfer at work," he said, his voice neutral, almost professional. "They're sending me to Brasilia in September. The contract is for 3 years." I listened, not knowing if that meant he was going alone or if he expected us to follow. I sat up slowly, unsure what expression to wear. "And Bia will come with me on alternate weeks. I'm not going to take her from her mother, but I'm not going to let her grow up watching this. And you," he continued, "you can do whatever you want. You can stay here, find another place, move in with your parents. I'm no longer interested in what you do with your life." I struggled to swallow, not because I didn't already know, but because hearing it said aloud was a blow more solid than anything that had come before. "Don't you want to fix this?" I asked, the words a struggle. "No," he answered, without hesitation. "I want to get on with my life, without having to look at someone who chose another man before talking to me. There's no fixing this. And don't tell me it was a mistake. It was a choice. You did everything I asked of you. I didn't talk to him. I didn't go out. I didn't do anything." "Exactly," he said. "You did nothing. You stayed here, quiet, following conditions as if it were a punishment. You didn't do anything for me. You only did it out of fear. And what did you want me to do?" "I wanted you to be honest from the beginning, to not hide like a teenager, to look me in the eye and say, 'I don't want to be with you anymore.' That's it. Just that. But you preferred to fuck everything up without a word." He stood and walked to the door, but paused before leaving. "Look, Carla, I don't hate you, and that's the most fucked up part of all this. If I hated you, it would be easier. But I feel nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a kind of void that I have no intention of filling with you. Can we at least talk like people? For Bia's sake? For Bia, I will be polite. I will be present. I will talk to you as much as is necessary. But there is no us anymore. You killed it the night you came home laughing in that car, like you were someone else." I didn't move. I just sat on the bed, unable to look away from the empty space where he'd been. He left without closing the door. I heard him take something from the hall closet, an envelope. He came back into the room and placed it on the nightstand. These are the divorce papers. There's no rush, but when you're ready, we'll sign. Is this what you want? It's what I need. And if I say I want to try, I don't believe you. He waited another second, as if expecting me to say something more, but I said nothing. The words wouldn't come. He left. The divorce was signed on a Monday afternoon, without ceremony, without a final argument, without even an attempt at reconciliation. Marcelo was punctual. He arrived with the folder under his arm, greeted the lawyer, and signed the papers without reading them. He already knew them by heart. He stood up from the chair without looking at me. I signed after him. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from the contained rage I felt at myself for letting everything end this way. When we left the office, he walked a few feet ahead of me. He didn't say goodbye, didn't turn around, didn't make a single gesture. He got in his car and drove away. I stood on the sidewalk, watching him disappear. I thought about sending a message, something brief, something to close what we had never even known how to properly open. But I didn't. I knew any word would be ignored. Bia didn't ask many questions. She just wanted to know if we were going to move, if Daddy was going to live far away, if she could still go to the same school. I answered everything as naturally as possible, as if these decisions were made for practical reasons and not from the emotional ruins my actions had left behind. Marcelo was firm but fair with her. He treated her as he always had, with affection, with attention, with that calm way he had of explaining the world without embellishment. I don't know if he'll ever forgive me for what happened, but for now, at least he doesn't look at me with contempt. Bia hugs me in the morning and tells me, I love you, and for now, that's enough. Getting back to a routine without Marcelo was easier than I imagined. Not because I didn't miss him, but because my mind had already disconnected from him long before, even if I hadn't known it. What was truly difficult was accepting that there would be no second chance, that this wasn't a crisis that could be solved with therapy or time. This time, there was a clear decision, a line drawn that neither of us was willing to cross again. I was forced to face what I had done from an uncomfortable place without the shield of regret, because I didn't regret it completely. I didn't regret feeling something different, seeking something I no longer had. What hurt was the how. Doing it in secret, denying the obvious for so long, causing pain so needlessly. I learned that betrayal isn't just the act itself, but everything that surrounds it. The daily lies, the constant fear of being discovered, the cowardice of not facing things when there was still time. Ricardo disappeared from my life almost at the same time as Marcelo. There was no confrontation, no goodbye. I simply stopped responding. I erased his number, deleted every digital trace. Not because I wanted to save anything with Marcelo, but because I understood that Ricardo was nothing more than an escape valve, a cheap escape. He didn't insist either. I suppose he realized that for me, he was never a possible destination, only a temporary distraction. Today, I don't even know if he's still in the city, and I don't care. I don't want to know. My closest friends asked what had happened. Some knew, others suspected. I wasn't completely honest with any of them. I just said that Marcelo and I had grown apart, that the relationship had become unsustainable, that we had taken different paths. Only one of them, Juliana, told me what I didn't want to hear. What you did can't be fixed, she said. But at least now, you don't have to pretend anymore. I didn't admit it to her then, but she was right. Living a lie is so much more exhausting than facing the consequences of your decisions. It's harder to look at your daughter and know that you were the one who broke that stability, but it's also more honest. I'm learning to live with that. I've started working more hours. I enrolled in a photography course on Tuesday afternoons. On the weekends, Bia is with Marcelo. I try not to stay locked in the house. Sometimes I go out alone for a drink, to read in a cafe, to watch people walk by, knowing nothing about me. Other times, I just stay on the sofa, watching shows without thinking too much. I'm not waiting for someone new to appear. I'm not interested. Not now. Maybe later, or maybe never. I don't know. What I do know is that if I am ever with someone again, it will be from a different place, not from emptiness, not from the fear of losing what no longer exists. It will be with everything clear from the beginning. No betrayals, no lies, no cowardice disguised as silence. This story doesn't have a happy ending or a tragic one. It just has an ending. And sometimes that's the most you can ask for.